I've got the first question. I know there are questions up there, but I have the first one because
Okay.
it's one of real. What the hell are you doing right now, if anything? And number two, are you still in the bobsled business?
That's two questions.
All right.
I can count, Steve. I hit my head a lot, but I can still count. Now, what am I doing? Well, I just actually I was in New Smyrna here a few hours ago helping a friend of mine test up there in a late model. They're racing Saturday night if it doesn't rain. So I work on his car. You know, I'm crazy. I mean, I'm 70 years old. I still love working on race cars, and he works in Ace Hardware all the time, so he doesn't have time. So I do all the work and set up, testing. I test it once in a while. So I do that. Do a little fishing. Love fishing. Love to eat the fish. We like to catch fish that you can eat. That other stuff we don't bother with. Now I have a lot of friends down here, so we do a lot of things. One friend has a restaurant. We help with that, and we just help people. And I was going around the racetracks and doing autographs and pictures and stuff, seeing race fans, which was fun. But of course, can't do that right now. Darn it! I mean, I really enjoyed that. I've been to Watkins Glen twice the last 2 years, and I love it. It's a lot of fun. I love race fans. The racers I don't like so much, but the race fans I love. No, actually, I like all the guys now because I'm not racing against them. But so I really do stay busy. Here at the house, always something to do. Boy, I wish I lived in a condo. Nothing to do in a condo. But yeah, I stay pretty busy. Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Got to stay busy. I don't sit on the couch. I'm not a couch potato.
I never thought you were.
So what are you doing?
What
are you doing?
I'm doing this with Rick. We have a podcast called the Scene Vault Podcast. We do Zoom chats with these great guys that are with us here tonight, and we're very fortunate to have some great drivers from the past and crew chiefs join us on this Zoomcast. And it's a particular thrill for me personally to have you here because, we've known each other for so very long. But you've had a great career, a lot of great moments, a lot of interesting things happened to you. And I'm going to turn it over now to these fans of ours and friends of ours and let them fire away.
Well, you asked me about bobsleds. I didn't answer that. No, we're not building them anymore. We stopped that, and we started in 1992, and we stopped it in 2010.
Okay.
No, yeah, 10 or 20. 10. Can't be 20. Yeah, 2010. So 18 years of building bobsled base or whatever I figured out. But really proud of that. Our kids won more Olympic medals, more world championships, and the Bodine bobsled. And but BMW came in and with marketing and a lot more money we had. And so they're using BMW bobsleds now. Unfortunately, they haven't been doing as well. But actually, one of our girls won the World Cup this last year, or this year. So they're getting better, which is good. We did it just for our athletes. We never sold any bobsleds. Now, if you want one, I might sell you one. But now we design, built, maintain them all free for our kids. So that was and had a lot of sponsors come in to help us. Wheeling Engineering was one of them. Indianapolis Motor Speedway helped us out when we were broke. Lumber, we just had a ton of really good people helping us.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
Geoff, somebody mentioned earlier on Twitter, do you actually have an Olympic gold medal?
I have a ring from our kids. Our four-man team won the gold medal in Vancouver, and the famous bobsled they called the night train. It was all flat black, and I have an Olympic gold medal ring. Pretty cool. And I'm not bragging, but I have a Daytona 500 ring and an Olympic gold medal ring, so I'm the only guy in the whole world like
There is that. Yeah.
Steve's always said I was a little unique. I don't know if that was in a good way or a bad way, but
No,
yeah. So
it was good. It remains true to this day.
the Lord's been good to me. I give him all the credit for my racing success. I'll take all the credit for the bad things I did, the stupid things. But he led me down the path, the right people, the right opportunities. He led me to build these bobsleds. I mean, what? I said, what am I doing? But there was a reason why, because we did it for the right reason, and we ended up building the best in the world and for our American athletes. So that doesn't get any better than that.
That's right.
Who's got a question?
Go ahead.
I think we should shoot to Bob Ellis was on pole, but Steve Wade comes before everybody else. So we'll let Bob Ellis jump in now with a quick question.
Hey, Geoff. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. I know I really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone else does. I got a question about the mid 80s there, 85 to 87, and you and Dale Earnhardt kind of were doing a lot of beating and banging on the track. And what brought about that? Why the animosity, and what happened during that meeting that you had with the car owners in NASCAR?
Yeah, I miss old Earnhardt. I wish he was around to see how his son has done and the success and all that, and be around. But we didn't do any beating banging. He did it all. I was the first guy to wear that full face helmet, and he wouldn't wear it. And he said, "That's why you keep backing into me. You can't see me." I said, I don't think I'm backing up into you. But no, we just, I'm a hard-headed Yankee, and he's a rough, tough Southern boy. And, I just raced, and, I didn't knock anyone out of the way. But that was just his style, and he learned that he could get away with it. And it was great for NASCAR. Oh, you kidding me? Man, the grandstands were packed back in those days. And, because I'm not the only one he ran into. They bumped around, but there for a while, I was his main target. That's because we were running good, and so if you're in front of him, you can count on him coming up there and give you a shot. And the movie Days of Thunder is about Dale. He was a tough guy in that, and Tom Cruise's part was the late Tim Richmond, because Tim was the playboy, young, handsome, and great driver. And then the other part of Tom's character was mine, all the bumping and banging on a racetrack. In a meeting in Daytona, Hollywood, they have to change it a little bit, make it a little more interesting. I'm driving a car behind Bill France Jr., and Rick Hendrick, and Childress. We're going to dinner. Bill threw me a set of car keys, said, "You two guys need to ride together." So I'm driving, and Earnhardt whacks me in the shoulder. Boom. I said, "What?" "Give him a shot." I said, "What the heck are you talking about?" He wanted me to run into Bill France, give him a shot, spin him out. I said, "Excuse me, we just got our rear ends chewed out in that meeting. I'll tell you what, I'll pull over and I'll let you do it." He said, No, just keep going. He was trying to get me in trouble some more. But I wish I'd done it. I mean, I wish I'd run into him. But on the way to dinner, we didn't wreck two cars. He just wanted me to spin out Bill France Jr. So that's the story of the Days of Thunder. But all those scenes, all those stories in there really are true. Changed maybe a little bit, but they're all true.
Cool.
It was fun.
Thank you very much.
It was fun back in those days. Racing was.
Well, we're going to go to Geoff Markowski next, but I think it's Geoff. You're going to have to do a follow-up because that answered some of your question anyway.
That's
but
right.
give it a shot.
I'm just going to change my question, Pete. You once said in an interview that Tim Richmond was the best teammate you ever had. Is that true, and why?
Yeah, he was. Well, I had several, and several friends. We're all friends in racing until they dropped the green flag. Then we aren't so much friends anymore. But no, some guys you'd be drafting, and they'd wave you to move out and help them pass somebody, so you would, and then they pull in and leave you hanging. I mean, that was an old trick of many of the veterans back in those days. But Tim waved you out. You might push him by, but he'd stay there to make sure you got by, and vice versa. If I was in front, he'd push me by. I'd work with him. But when it came down to the last lap, I don't know if you remember the race at Pocono when we kept switching the lead back and forth, and I think the race was short and it got dark out. And the last lap, we swapped the lead down the front stretch, down the back straightaway, down the short chute, and coming into turn 3, he drove outside of me. Now, I could have slid him up. Most guys probably would have to win the race, slid him up and knocked him out of the way. But I didn't do it because that's not how we raced. And he ended up winning the race. And Ricky Rudd had caught us because we were all messing around, slowing down a little bit. And I was so mad. I was the first guy to shift at Pocono. I shifted the third gear off to turn 3, trying to beat him to the finish line. That didn't work, but you got to try everything you can. But Tim was, you could count. If he said he was going to help you, he'd help you. He was a great guy, great kid.
All right. Thanks, Geoff. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Hey, my pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for calling in.
We're going to Matt Miles next.
Hey, Geoff, how are you?
Hey, Matt. Doing good. What do you got behind you?
Picture you and my little guy when you were up at Pocono with the Indy cars last year.
Oh, that's great.
Well, that car behind, the white car with my name on the roof, that's the white Tornado. Built that with friends of mine in 80. And we raced it a couple of years. Won every race we were in just about. And when I went south, a super modified guy named Jimmy Champagne drove the car. Billy Taylor and his brother owned the car. And Jimmy, there's a wreck at Oswego. He got sideways. A guy hit him in the door and the tire and killed him, broke his neck. Didn't hurt the car. I mean, just a freak accident. What a great racer he was, too. But a friend found that car, had it restored, like brand new, gave it to me. And but now Ray Everhand owns it. He has it in his shop down there in Mooresville, and he brought it to Pocono so I could drive it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Ray was trying to do his 200-mile-an-hour run that day.
Yeah,
and
quite make it.
Looped it in the third turn, didn't quite make it. Tried again, and there was some rain and stuff that day too. My original question was about the bobsledding team, but you pretty much answered that. So, first thing I want to say is thank you very much because you spent a lot of time with my little guy. You let him crawl all over the car, and
I did.
You did, and it was great. And
it was a good deal.
Definitely made an impression with him, so I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Kind of switching gears a little bit, talking a little more about the modified days, because it seems like at the time, the way you came up through the ranks was different. A lot of the guys did late models and kind of came up through in the South, and us our hard-headed Yankees up here in Pennsylvania, New York, why we like our modifieds, and you raced against one of my all-time heroes, Tony Hirschman. His son's spotting for Kyle now, and his other son Matt is winning all over the place. But just talk, if you could, just kind of talk a little bit about how the modifieds were a good stepping stone for you to get into the Cup Series.
Well, I'm in the process of. I have a couple of guys writing a book for me. We were just talking about this part of my career a few days ago, and I started out on dirt. My grandfather and father built a little dirt track when I was a year old, and my father built me a little go-kart when I was 5, a little quarter midget they call it, micro midget. So that's when I started driving. Had uncles that raced. My father never did. And so I started on dirt. I love dirt. But then I got into asphalt modifieds. And, that was cool. That's where I wanted to go, the asphalt modifieds. I wanted one day to go to Daytona and win, but no one believed that was ever going to happen, probably including myself. But at one point in my career, I was going to go to Indianapolis. This friend of mine in Chemung and I, we bought a rear engine car that ran Indianapolis and converted it so we could run Oswego, short track, put roll cage on it and some other stuff. And that's because Indy car racing was a lot larger, bigger than NASCAR back in those days. But unfortunately, had some engine problems, so we went back racing a modified. Did I lose you guys? You lose me?
We're here.
Still got you.
Okay, there you go. There it goes. And so I went back to modifieds, and there weren't any late model racing up in the Northeast. But what I learned through all those years of racing modifieds was the NASCAR car owners and crews. They all knew me, but I could win all the races I wanted to, but it didn't matter until I got in a late model and won races. They weren't going to call me up and say, "Hey, you want to drive my car?" So that's when I moved south, gave up that modified deal, got into late models, of course, then won tons of races. And I won a race at Darlington, Trans-South 200. Steve was there for Frank Plessinger. Yeah. He owns Hagerstown Speedway in Maryland. A ragtag team. Back then, see, all those late model teams were they're all independents. They didn't really have a connection with Cup. And so it was a pretty even playing field, car-wise. And but David Pearson was in the race, and the Allisons and Earnhardt and Gant, you name it, all those guys were in that race. I ended up winning a race with this ragtag team from Hagerstown, Maryland. A day later, I got a call from Cliff Stewart, who owned the Spectrum Furniture number 50 car. Hey, he smokes a cigar, and he's the old guy. Hey, if you can win at Darlington, you can win anywhere. Come on over here. Let's talk. That's how I got my ride. If I had moved and won that race in Darlington, I'd probably still be a farm boy up in Chemung, New York, milking them cows.
I appreciate it, Geoff. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, Chris Perry.
I can't tell you guys everything because then you won't buy my book. Steve, the name of the book is?
Yeah. What?
Well, tentatively, I like it though, because I was a fan of the old Paul Harvey.
Yeah.
It's Daytona 500 winner champion Geoff Bodine tells the rest of the story.
Oh, I've got to read this.
Now I'm not naming names, no, but I know a lot of ways guys won races and won championships, became millionaires. They were fudging a little bit. You know what I'm talking about.
I got your point.
I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, under a racing car tire, but I'm just race fans want to know what the hell's been going on. I mean, what did guys do? How did somebody get an advantage? And that'll be part of the book.
Sure.
The other part's inspirational, my faith and of course my career and everything, but all that stuff that God blessed me with. So, but there's going to be some stuff in there about the rest of the story.
Before that book's published, I'm going to send a couple engineers down to buy you dinner.
You can't do any of this stuff now. They got way smarter. NASCAR's way smarter now than they used to be.
That's fine. Call it inspiration.
Okay.
Geoff is exactly right about NASCAR.
Yes, sir. A lot of them officials got a lot of Budweiser beer and tools, and so I think some of them got some automobiles from some car dealers back in those days because they were getting a little help from their friends.
All right, Chris Perry, you're on deck.
Hey, Geoff. Pleasure to talk to you.
Hi, Chris.
I'm also a fellow New Yorker out near Holland Speedway area.
Been there once. I was there once, I think. Yeah. I think I won.
Probably did.
I did, yeah.
Just curious. I know you brought power steering into the Cup Series. Did that allow you to get more aggressive with like caster camber and front end geometry?
Yeah. Yeah, the late Earnhardt, he'd say, "Hey, you got that power steering on you, wimp?" He called me a wimp. I said, "Dale, one day you're going to have it." "I will not." Well, we want to. The first time we ran it was North Wilkesboro when I first got that ride with the 50 car. And, I got out of the car after that race. I was pretty fresh, and everyone else said, "Oh, give me a drink." Well, I'm not sure when Dover was after Wilkesboro, a race or two, I'm not sure. But Bobby Allison always was an innovator and car builder. Well, and smart guy. He put power steering on for Dover. Well, guess who won the race? He did, and I finished second. Guess what happened next week? Half the field had power steering. Guess what happened after that? Dale Earnhardt Senior had power steering. So then I go up to him and say, "Hey, Wimp, you got that power steering on there? You son of a bitch, you." But it wasn't just no. I went Darlington in that late model without power steering. It wasn't about being a wimp. It was making a car handle better. Yeah, you could set your camber caster better where the car would handle better.
Right.
Earnhardt didn't understand that in the beginning, but he quickly learned. They all did. But yeah, you could set that where the car would turn better, and you just make it a faster race car.
Cool. Thank you much.
But it did extend the career of many a driver. I'm probably one of them, but Richard Petty, he was pretty fragile. He had some health problems, so he kept racing. And, you can just name a whole bunch of guys that really extended their careers because it does steer easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. DW tried to get outlawed at Wilkesboro after we ran it. He went up to Bill France Jr. and said, "Billy, that old power steering bricks on that boy's car, he's going to wreck everybody." He came that close to getting it outlawed because of that. But I think he had it on a week after Dover.
But he wasn't worried about his overweight wheels that we found out about on the podcast last week.
Yeah.
Who told you that? That's in my book, but I wasn't going to name names. That ain't right. I begged Junior and Tim Brewer to let me run them wheels, but they wouldn't put them on for me. DW wasn't the only one to use them,
Sure.
No kidding.
Who else drove for Junior?
Bonnet.
Terry
Labonte. Bonnet.
Yeah, they all became. Yep, they became who they are. They had them on Wilkesboro, probably Bristol. Any race where that car spun out right in the beginning of the race, they had them on because they spin out to bring caution out, so then they take them off. Yeah.
Well, thank you much. That's awesome.
You bet. My pleasure. Read the book.
All right. We're going to Hallie Emery next.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Geoff, for being on here tonight.
Thank you.
You kind of answered the question earlier about teammates, so I'll change gears here a little bit. In 1984, your first year with Hendrick, you guys ran with very minimal sponsorship. 1985, Levi Garrett came on board. How did that relationship come about? And was there any – I know you were not the first Levi Garrett car, but was there any tension with NASCAR and Winston being a competitor of Levi Garrett?
No. What happened there? Yeah, Rick. When Harry Hyde called me up and said, "Bodine, you need to come down here. This car dealer here in Charlotte's going to build a team. I'm going to be crew chief." And they talked to Earnhardt first, and I think Richie Petty even, because they weren't going with some car dealer, never raced before. So I went down there and talked to him, and went in the City Chevrolet. We sat in the office, talked, and I don't have a sponsor, so we're probably going to be able to run 15 races. See what happens. I said, "I want to drive your car." I didn't want to drive it because of Rick Hendrick. And Rick knows it. I want to drive it because of Harry Hyde being the crew chief. He's a winner. I said, he can show me how to win. So that's why I said, I want to drive this car. And Rick said, "Well, let Harry and I talk about it, and we'll give you a call." There weren't none of these things back then. Oh, you see that? Yeah. He wasn't there either. Thank God he's here now. But no cell phones. So I said, "Man, I don't want to go home." I said, "Hey, Rick, it's all right if I wait out in the lobby for your answer?" And that impressed him so much that I wanted that ride that badly that I wanted to stay there for the answer. 5 minutes later, it came out, you got the ride. But it was only for 15 races. And we got after our 7th race, we run fair. We had some good finishes, but Rick came up to Harry and I and said, "Guys, man, I'm sorry." He'll tell you the story, Steve. You might have heard it already. I don't know. He said, "I am sorry. Man, I have spent way too much money on this racing stuff. I didn't know it was going to cost this much money. I'm going to have to shut the door. My heart sunk. Holy cow. Well, I left, and, Harry, of course, talked to him, and he said, he told Rick, he said, look, Rick, the car's ready for Martinsville. It's all ready. Sitting there. The engine's in it. Got tires on it. It won't cost you very much more to go there, just a few tires. And he said, that Bodine's won some races up there, which I won a bunch of late model and modified races there. Steve was there for a lot of them, probably all of them. And Rick said, all right, go ahead. Well, Rick had promised his wife, Linda, to go to a church conference in Greensboro that Sunday. So they weren't even at the racetrack. Of course, we went up there, and that first race was around my birthday all the time, April 18th. So if April 18th, anyone wants to send me a present April 18th, that's my birthday. That's supposed to be funny. You really don't have to send presents. But we had a fan club deal. And, Harry gets the mic. He said, well, Bodine's running pretty good, but I don't think we're ready to win this race. I grabbed the damn microphone and said, I don't know what the hell you talking. We were already practicing stuff. I said, I don't know what you're talking about, Harry, but I think we have a darn good chance of winning this race. Of course, we went out there and won, and, we wore the guys out, passed them on the outside. Harry picked the first pit coming off of turn 4. And everyone said, what the heck are you picking that for? Well, no, it's the best pit because when everyone comes in a pitch, to get the yours down the line, everyone slows up. Well, we just drove right in there fast. So everyone else was pitting when we were there, and we just kept our lead. But I probably one of my proudest moments was at that race. Bobby Allison was leading, and I passed him on the outside. You don't see much of that anymore, but we had a great setup, and Harry did a great job, and we ended up winning. And of course, Rick didn't know it at the time. He called his mother on the lane line. Ma, how'd they do? Well, Rick, they won the race. They won the race. He and Linda went down to my house. I just lived just a little outside of Greensboro. Toilet papered my house. That was our celebration for winning the first race for Hendrick Motorsports. And no cell phone, so I couldn't talk to him until I got home. Our victory dinner, Steve, was at the restaurant just up the street. What?
Clarence's,
yeah, man. Yeah. I've hit my head a lot. Clarence's, that's our victory dinner. And but that's what kept Hendrick Motorsports open. And Rick Hendrick has told that story to Walter Earnhardt, Jimmy. Yeah. Casey Kane was there. We were doing a little TV thing one day, and after he told that story, I was like, oh wow. Gordon go, whew, man, thanks, man. I looked at them all. I said, don't you guys think you owe me something? and Geoff said, hey, check will be in the mail. Every time I see him, I said, man, I haven't got that check yet. What the hell do you do? Move, you change addresses? We send it out. We'll send you another one. But really, in reality, don't you think they owe me? Because they became zillionaires. And if I hadn't won that race, no Hendrick Motorsports.
Well, wasn't it long after that race that I recall they got a sponsorship from Northwestern out of Wilkesboro?
Wilkesboro, yeah. That race got that sponsorship, and then some others through the rest of the year, and then Levi Garrett the next year. No, RJ Reynolds, nobody complained about that sponsorship. It was fine.
Good.
What the heck? Hey, there you are. That sounds like my house.
Yeah.
I think it's family hour at somebody's house.
That sounds like my house.
We're going to Brian Hallman next.
Thanks for being on, Mr. Bodine.
Hey there.
You talked about driving for Rick, and Rick was one of the first of the new breed of the young car owner. Later on in your career, you drove for Junior Johnson and Bud Moore, who were old school car owners. What kind of transition and what kind of difference was there between all of that?
Well, that's a great question. Being my book, being a first isn't always the best position to be in. I was Rick's first driver. Man, we blew engines. My God. If you look back through the record book, I should have won twice as many races that I did. Randy Dorton, I mean, loved the kid. I mean, just tragic what happened, of course. But he was just learning to build engines. He was just hanging with Harry Hyde and had an engine shop with Harry's building. And so we had a lot of engine problems. I introduced Rick and Harry to B&R engines out of Winston-Salem, Kenny Bingham, Ronnie Reeves. That's when things started going better, the second year. But everything was good. I'm not complaining one bit, believe me, not complaining one bit. Even though Harry gave Tim Richmond the B&R engines. And I told Rick, Rick, Harry's taking all the good engines for Tim. No, he wouldn't do that. Well, after Harry had passed, Rick came up to me somewhere and said, hey, you were right. Harry was putting the screws to you. I said, well, thanks a lot. I lost everybody again. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so now I go with Junior Johnson. The first year was great. We almost won a damn championship. Broke a crankshaft at Dover that did it for us. Leading a race. I mean, the darn crank broke. And so the first year was great. Finished third in the points. Not bad. Second year, downhill. Junior run off with his, he's passed, unfortunately. I mean, what a great guy. I love that guy. I mean, what a NASCAR hero. I mean, you can't say enough good things about Junior. But he and Flossie split up, and then he started the other team with Sterling. And Tim Brewer, who was my crew chief then, he got mad because Junior didn't put him in charge of both teams. He kept him with me. He said, I'll show that old man. I said, wait a minute, Tim, man, I'm driving this car. This is how I make a living. I'll show that man. He should have hired me. I mean, he was really mad. Of course, Junior was off doing other things. So, we won some races, but second year it didn't go nearly like it should have because of that. So then Ford came to me and said, hey, they knew when I wasn't happy. Said, we want you to go with Bud Moore. Motorcraft, Ford Motorcraft sponsored him. They said, hey, you go with him, and if you can't win with him, we're going to pull a sponsorship. Bud had good stuff. And so I went with Bud, and, Bud was getting really towards the end of his career too. And I'm not saying anything behind his back that I didn't say in front of him. He was old and grouchy. He didn't like anything new. And so I went with Bud, but, man, we had good cars. They handled good, but the engines were terrible. So right before Martinsville, I went to Preston Miller at Ford and said, Preston, Pro Motors were building engines for the 77 car and some other. I said, I want one of those engines. Man, that thing would fly down the straightaway, that 77 car. So Preston got Ford to buy an engine from Peter Giles with Pro Motors, and we put it in there and won Martinsville with it on a Monday. Remember, it rained Sunday, and we raced Monday. So now we're going to Wilkesboro, same car, same setup. I had Travis Carter and Donnie Wingo crew chiefs. And they said, what do you want to do? I said, nothing. We'll just try this setup. It worked at Martinsville. So we go up there with one of Bud's engines in. And we practiced qualifying. I got done qualifying. I think we qualified second. I mean, good, but I said, guys, we got to get that Pro motor. I can win this race if we have that Pro. I can't win it with this engine, but I can win it with the Pro motor. So Preston called up Pro Motors and said, hey, we need that engine. They got it, hurried up and got it rebuilt. Put it in for Saturday practice. Man, the thing was fast.
And Bud didn't go to the race, and he didn't know anything about this. Nothing. So we go up there and won the race, lapped everybody but one car that day, Mark Martin. I was right behind him, didn't lap him though. Bud found out we had that pro motor in. He raised holy hell. He was so mad that you could have won with my engine. I said, well, we didn't. We won with the same car, same engine, 2 races in a row on Mondays. If you remember, Wilkesboro ran out and ran that race on Monday. So Harry Gant and I are Mr. Mondays. We're co-Mondays guys. But then Bud kept the engine and rebuilt it. And he learned what was going on with the engine. So his engine got better. Unfortunately, that engine ended up blowing up at Rockingham. I mean, I don't know what the hell. But anyway, his engine got better. I won Series Point with his engine, with Bud's engine. And I don't know what else. We won the Butch Clash with Bud's car. First time out. That was pretty cool. So should have almost won Daytona with it. And that's when Dale Jarrett won. This is all going to be in the book. But we're following Earnhardt, and Jeff Gordon was a rookie. And then it was Dale and then myself. And Earnhardt's getting loose. He's letting up coming off the corners. He's sideways. Gordon wouldn't pass him. You know, that was Jeff's hero. He wasn't going to pass his hero. I'm going to follow him till the end. Coming off Ford for the white flag, I said, Dale, you got to pull out. You got to pull out. He pulled out. I pushed him by both of them. We went into turn 1 flying, and Jarrett went high. So I drove under him. And I knew, I guess it was Hut Strickland. I thought it was Strickland, but it was Hut was driving Junior's other car. I said, I'm going to win this race. He's going to push me, keep me going down the backstretch. I looked in the mirror. He wasn't there. His car wasn't handled like ours were. And so I ended up underneath him all by myself. Earnhardt pushed Jarrett back past me, and I beat Gordon. I finished 3rd, but that's how Dale Jarrett won that race. So, but I mean, he made the right move, and I pushed him. But I should have won the damn race, but nobody helped me. Where are you? Oh shoot! But anyway, it's all good.
Thank you, sir. And if you need any pictures for your book, I can hook you up.
All right. Hey, great. I love Facebook because, man, race fans have been sending pictures pictures I've never seen of cars. Did I drive that car? You know, I can't remember all of them, but so it's really cool. You see a lot of pictures on Facebook. Of course, I save them all. Who's next? Who's the next victim?
We got Mark Traina next.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Doing great.
My question is kind of more personal.
Hey, look at the T-shirt. Hey, Steve, look at that T-shirt. Guys, all right, Mark.
Steve knows me. But, yeah, this shirt's about 10 years old. So
yeah.
My question to you is, and it's
look at the cars and the thing behind him. You got cars and everything there. Hey, all right. I love you, man.
Your name around 2002, maybe 2003, I feel like I knew you, Geoff Bodine, and for some reason either ESPN and all of them, they changed it to Jeffrey. I'm sure it's in the book, but there may not be a story. But is there a story about why the name changed?
Oh yeah. Well, that's my real name, Jeffrey, Geoffrey, and my mother named me that. That's Old English, Geoffrey Chaucer, and all that. Getting more popular at spelling now. But, when I got in there, I was the only Jeff. And then came Jeff, Gordon, but Jeff Green, Jeff Burton. So I'd be walking down the pit road and, hey, Jeff. I'd turn around and they didn't want me. They wanted one of them other Jeffs. Walking down around and, hey, Jeff. I turned around. Man, I got tired of this crap. They wanted one of these other guys. I said, all right, I can fix that. My real name's Jeffrey. So I changed it to Jeffrey to separate myself from those guys. So if somebody said Jeffrey, hey, I knew it was me. And we got a little PR out of it. And it was all fun. Just fun stuff.
Right.
But all those other Jeffs came in and stole my thunder. And my wins and the money and everything else. We had a lot of fun back in those days. You could do those things, and today it's today.
Yep.
All right, we're going back to Jeff Markowski.
Okay, Jeff.
How do you spell your name?
Jeffrey.
Okay, well you're right.
I
You
spelled
must be
it the correct way. I was at this truck race in Daytona, and I still cannot believe that you lived through that. But at what point did you know that you were in trouble?
Well, we had a pit. That's why we got behind, and I just caught Kurt Busch in that group, and the lead group was just ahead of them. And the lap before, I told my crew, I said, "Don't worry, guys. I can pass these guys." And we were fast. I can pass these guys anytime. I'm just being careful. Well, we came in a tribal, and I was kind of sitting outside of Kurt, and I never can remember this kid that was up here out in front of him, and then another guy. Well, this guy tried to cut down to get down lower through the tribal, and Kurt caught his rear bumper. I saw that. I said, well, I'm going to get through there before he comes back and hits the wall. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know there was another truck underneath him. So he hit that guy, and they turned them both right in front of me. At that point, I knew I was going to get wrecked and put out of race, so I was kind of mad. This all happens in milliseconds. You know, your brain is crazy. Your whole life can go through your brain in a millisecond. As soon as I hit the wall, I was knocked out. So I missed all the excitement of tumbling and flipping and fire. And, you know, I was unconscious. And I woke up. When they got to me, it took several minutes. They got to me, I wasn't breathing. They undid my seatbelt, and I started breathing. Never said anything, never opened my eyes. And I remember sitting there thinking, okay, where am I? I heard people talking and working. Okay, where am I? Daytona race, and then I passed out again. Woke up several times through the hospital when they're checking me and saying some funny things. They were taking me off the stretcher, the ambulance, put me on the hospital thing, and I heard say, we're on 3 lift. I said, I hurt really bad, be careful. And they lift me up, I passed out again. And they're giving me an MRI, and I'm claustrophobic. I don't know about you guys. I heard them talking about it, and I still haven't opened my eyes yet. I said, put something over my eyes. I'm claustrophobic. And they got to be laughing their butts off. Well, I've talked to them all. They were. And as soon as they put me in the bed in my room, I opened my eyes. My family, my fiance was looking down at me, and they weren't smiling. I said, I must not look too good. You're not smiling. They said, no, you don't. And then I told them the story. I don't know if you've heard it, Steve, or not, but during the crash, being knocked out, my father came to me. He passed many years before, and he was very sick. But he came to me, looked great, smiling, you know, just had a hat on. I always wore a hat, like all the Bodines, most of us, except Todd. I looked at him and said, Dad, I'm coming to see you. He said, no, it's not time. You have more to do. So I'm truly blessed. That's how I survived that accident. It wasn't – the top was cut off. The front was cut off at my feet. So the safety cage and stuff was gone. My seat stayed in there. Now I always mounted my own seats. It was my seat that I built the first seat around your shoulders. Right. And so that stayed there. I was there, but – you know, the Lord definitely saved me. There's no question. You can't survive what I did without a higher power reaching down there and protecting you. And, you know, a fan took some pictures from the grandstand. And one picture, you can kind of see me laying in fire. And then the guy put the fire out. Then you can see me. I'm laying on a racetrack, my upper body. I mean, it's still in the seat, but there's no cage. So it's on the side. My head and shoulders were on the asphalt. And I said, Lord, how did I survive? That was a pretty stupid question. He said, it was me. I mean, it wasn't him. He saved me. There's no question. So I'm very blessed.
Yeah, just watching that race from the grandstands, it looked horrific. And I remember
I call it spectacular.
Quiet during that race.
Yeah, I call it spectacular. A lot of people say, man, that was a bad wreck. I said, no, that's a good wreck. Bad one's when you don't survive. That was a good wreck. I survived. It was just very spectacular, and hopefully nobody. Ryan's was bad this year, but nothing got chopped up. It got crushed. Thank God they made those cars better. They made that area in the driver's compartment a lot stronger. That's what saved his life. But back in the day, we didn't have any of that stuff. We didn't have the Hans device. We didn't have anything then. But I had that seat. That helped. Mm-hmm. And now everyone runs that seat around your shoulders. Yeah. It's a lot safer.
All right. Thanks again, Geoff.
Thank you. You're welcome.
2 more questions to finish up. We're going to shoot to Brian Hallman, and then we'll finish up with Chris Perry.
Hey, Brian.
How you doing, Geoff? I get another one. When you first came down here, you were that damn Yankee. I can say that. My mom was from Brooklyn, New York.
So you're the guy. You were the guy.
No, it wasn't me. Wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
But that was Chris over here. How did you ever feel like that you earned the respect down here?
When I started racing late models, people loved me. Short track late model racing is rough, tough. Had Tommy Ellis, Sam Ard, great Sam Ard, Jack Bland, Butch Lindley. Yeah, just a slew of great drivers. And the fans really, they liked me. Kind of strange. I won a lot of races. And, up north, where I was from, if I won, I got booed. I call it boo power. Get on the microphone. Hey, the more you boo, the faster I go. They just booed crazy. That's in the book, too. But down south, they didn't really boo that much in late models. Now, when I got in Cup, everyone's happy when you win your first race. Kind of happy when you win your second. But after that, it's all downhill. And, of course, when you're banging fenders with the local guys like Earnhardt or I really didn't bang fenders with too many guys, really. And you're winning, you start getting booed. So just ask any driver though. We don't mind the boos. We don't just want all yays. We just want noise. When you walk up there, get introduced in the silence, you want to crawl in a hole. So you just want somebody to make noise. It don't matter what kind of noise. Just make some noise, please. And we always had noise, Earnhardt had noise, Waltrip, he's going to meet everyone in the Kmart parking lot. I wonder if he ever did that. I did that. I did that after I won Daytona in '86. My parents were selling souvenirs down in the Kmart parking lot, just down the street. And after that race, I went down to see him in the Kmart parking lot. I saw some race fans. And I didn't cuss them out, though. I liked them. Hey, I got to put that in the book. Yeah, man, I keep thinking of things. That's got to go in the book. Let me write that down.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's go to Chris Perry to finish up.
All right, so I was talking to you about Holland Speedway. I can confirm you did win there because I just texted my dad who was racing there at the time.
People don't trust me. Okay, that's all right. That's all right, Chris.
It was one of the match races where you and 5 other guys came up and ran like a 15 race or something. So my question would be for you. If you have one more cup race to run, who do you want as your crew chief? Harry Hyde or Gary Nelson?
Well, neither one of them right today because setups and chassis cars are all different today. They're completely different.
Right.
What Gary and I won Daytona 500 with, that setup, I mean, that was crazy setup. You tell people what springs you had in the car, they think you're lying because they were way soft. And today they're way stiff. The backs are on the ground. Everything's on the ground. That's a tough one. I loved old Harry. He was smart, but he was old school, so we had a little problem about that. He liked to put weight in the back of the car. Now, for a while, that worked. I won some races with it that way. But eventually, as the tire development changed, everything started changing. I said, Harry, that weight in the trunk, it's like a pendulum. it's behind the tires, and when you go in a corner, it just wants to swing the back end of the car out. He goes, Bodine, I don't know about no pendulum effect, but that weight's going in that damn trunk. So we had a little thing going there. That's why he went with crew chief with Tim, and then I had Gary for a while, and then Waddell Wilson. Man, I love Waddell too. So I've had a lot of really, really great crew chiefs and owners, and been blessed. And the Lord just, and the way I explain it to some people, my career, the gears didn't quite line up. Now, I'm not complaining one bit, but being Rick's first driver, I should have won more. There aren't too many engine problems. Being driver for Junior and Bud Moore at the end of their careers was kind of bad, and things happened. But no, I'm not complaining, man. I'm glad I drove for those guys. And I even drove a truck for James Hilton. Man, that was awesome. I can say I drove for James Hilton. He was one of my heroes. He was a great guy. Tragic what happened to him and his boy. Yeah, it's just tragic. But, yeah, that's the only question. Did I answer your question? I get rambling off. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's awesome.
That's okay. He'll read it in the book.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to give away all my secrets in that book. Yeah. That book a couple years away, though, probably. At least a year away. Got you a Bud there?
Bud Light.
Bud Light? Man, I'm getting thirsty. Hand that to me. Give me one.
One for you.
Can't you go through the screen? Give me one. Oh, Lord. Life is good, guys. Everything's been tough, this virus thing, and our economy. I hope everyone's survived it okay. The world's going to be different from here on out. Racing has been different, and how long it's going to be different, we don't know. It might be different forever. They're learning it. And I don't know about you, Steve. I like midweek racing. What do you think?
Steve's muted.
Oh, Wednesday night race. Look, on the weekends, I don't know about you, but I got yard work to do. I got to go to the beach, put my feet in the sand. All those people are busy on weekends. During the midweek, they come home from work, they eat, they sit down in front of the TV. They don't go out and do yard work. So midweek racing is awesome. I bet the ratings are skyrocketing for those races in the midweek because people are home. I hope they keep doing it. Now, a lot of drivers feel the same way. So interviews, they talk that way. They want to race during the week. It's awesome. And who needs to practice and qualify?
Well,
this is so cool. It
exactly.
They're proved they don't have to, and it saves money, a lot of money for those teams. You don't need the motel rooms, the travel, the tires, the end. Just I hope through this terrible time we've been going through, we all learn a lot. We're all going to learn a lot. And I hope NASCAR learns a lot, that they can change things and make it work really good. And but boy, it's been tough. I'm glad. I just feel bad for these people in the inner cities and all that stuff. And you can tell I'm red, white, and blue. I believe in USA. And so I probably shouldn't get into this, Steve. I don't know. But you know me. I'm an honest guy, and I say what's on my mind. I always have.
You have never shied away from that.
I'm very, very disappointed in NASCAR. I was very proud of him before that guy knelt on pit row. Stand for national anthem, hand over your heart, prayer. Everyone's lined up, and they let that guy kneel, and they showed him on TV. They opened Pandora's box, and, man, that's a bad box to open up because they are screwed now. Yeah. Black Lives Matter on Richard Petty's car. How do you think Richard feels? Richard saw that Confederate flags from day one when he was a baby. And now you can't display it. I'm going to have a shirt with an American or Confederate flag on. They didn't say you couldn't wear a shirt. They said you couldn't fly a flag. But I'm done with NASCAR. They caved in to the radicals, to the bad people, the left, and I am done with them. I was proud of them up until that one moment. And I'm sorry. Had to get it out. I just don't. I just don't. I'm too proud of American. I got values, and I'm going to stick up for our country instead of anyone. NFL, they're killing themselves. Baseball, those spoiled brats want all this money to play. They won't play ball. People love it, what they did for a living. If I was a ball player, I'd play for nothing just to keep the game going. Man, it's going to come back. But the way they're treating it, the fans might not come back. And so I'm pretty upset with it all. I know a lot of people are, but a lot of people aren't happy with NASCAR right now.
Yeah.
They're not happy at all.
Geoff, you're certainly not alone.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, but it's the way it is. So a lot of new people in NASCAR. We all know what's going on there. Bill Jr. wouldn't be happy. Anyway, or be Bill Sr. Anyway, guys, I guess I've talked way too much. Probably said way too much. I'll never get in a racetrack again, which is okay. Which is okay. Oh, what a mess. It's been fun though, guys. You got a great thing going.
Geoff, thank you.
All right. Yeah,
Thank
Geoff,
you
thank
so
you very
much
much
for your time.
Jeff, thank you.
Great seeing you, Steve. Been a while.
I want to say thank you too, because I'm a winter sports guy as much as I'm a race guy, and what you did for the U.S. bobsled team is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You put them on a trajectory that they would never have been on besides for you.
We have a book about the bobs. It's called Night Train. And
I have a copy.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It tells the whole story. Do you like it?
Absolutely. I'm from Connecticut.
Yeah.
I know the Whalens and all those guys up there. You did a phenomenal thing.
Phil Kerr's a great guy, and yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yep.
Great talking to you guys.
I'm only ticked that you didn't keep running the bobsled thing you were doing up in Lake Placid.
Yeah, the bobsled challenge, Geoff Bodine bobsled challenge. Yeah, that kind of ran out.
Yeah.
It's hard to do things like that for very long.
Yeah.
You know, plus we lost sponsorships, and the guys loved it. I mean, they did. But actually, you know, Joey, we had Joey Logano there when he was nobody. Then we had him there when he was somebody. And then after that, they said, you can't do that anymore. That's too dangerous. So that was a big problem. The guys were getting static from their sponsors and owners. And it is kind of dangerous. A lot of fun, but it hurts when you wreck.
I bet.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it.
A couple times.
Pardon?
Didn't Boris said win that challenge a couple of times?
Boris said, we didn't know this at the time, but we saw him in Charlotte and said, hey, Boris, we're putting on this race. You ever think about driving a bobsled? What? My father was Bob said. His name was Bob said. Really, not Boris, it was Bob, Robert. And he said, my father used to drive them. He drove them in. He went out for the Olympics, and he gave me a ride when I was a little boy. I said, you got to be kidding. Bobsled drove a bobsled. True story. Bob said drove a bobsled. And then Boris went up there. He cheated a lot. And that'll be in the book how he cheated. But we finally caught him. And then he was getting beat, and he wasn't happy about getting beat. Not at all. And Melanie Troxel, the drag racer, she won the next to the last race, and Joey Logano won the very last race we had. But look at that hat that guy's got on. 88. Oh, that's Waltrip. Gee whiz.
Hey Geoff, I got a DW hat on, but I'm actually from Elmira, so we're practically neighbors.
So why are you wearing that damn hat? Aren't people from where you grew up supposed to cheer for you? Holy cow.
Real quick, I promised I'd be really quick. I met you, there was a golf tournament, a charity golf tournament, like the first or second year that NASCAR came to the Glen, and you went you were one of the NASCAR drivers that came to that charity golf tournament. And my question for you was, when's the last time you've been to Chemung? And do you have any plans to come to the Speedrome? I know that they're hurting for people.
Well, Brett, Todd, and I were there 2 years ago for a night. They had the biggest crowd they had in a long time. They had a lot of old-time drivers there. It's a great, great night. great race. I went there because I was in Watkins Glen. Yeah, last year. Yeah, last year. So I went down then. Yeah, went around the town, and maybe I didn't go to the race that year. I've been there a couple of times. Yeah, they folks have really done a nice job there at the track, but short track racing is tough right now, and any kind of racing is tough. And they did a really nice job of that track, though. It's fun to go back. Yeah. Were you there tonight? I was there.
Nope. I was there from 1986 till 1994, and then I went and joined the military and haven't moved back. But
okay, yeah, I was a National Guard 6 years. I went up there and this I was the Grand Marshal, so I was going to lead the parade lap on the main event, and a gentleman in Waverly built a replica car of my '99 Valiant. Really did a nice job with it, and he races it in vintage events around. And so, and he does well with it. So I'm car out there riding around and in front of the field, and big black engine. I wanted to gas it a little bit, make some noise. And down the backstretch, I gassed it. Man, his tires spun. I said, "What the hell?" I just cleaned them up a little bit. So down the front stretch, I gassed it and let off the gas. I didn't hit the brake, and the car spun out, going down the front stretch into turn one. I said, "Holy shit, I am going to wreck this car." It spun around and backed up where they go off the track and just stopped there. And I was facing the field. The crowd thought I did it on purpose, just to see the cars go by. I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect. Spun around and stopped, and I saw all the cars go by. So I go in, the guys in the infield. I said, "What the hell happened?" I forgot to tell you. I had a flat tire with my good tires. These tires are about 20 years old. I borrowed them from a guy. Holy shit, they're as hard as my head. I mean, I said, "Oh, you
no, they can't be that hard."
No, yeah. All right. Hard as Steve said, I don't know, but they were hard. I spun out. I mean, I'm just thank God I didn't wreck the car. Oh, gee. But another story. Got lots of stories. Yeah.
It'll be in the book.
It'll be definitely in the book.
In the book.
Well,
I got another one.
Jeff, I am living proof that being an author of NASCAR books is a sure way, is a sure route to wealth and riches, fame and glory.
Yeah.
So just write the book, publish it, and all your work's over. You'll never have to worry about another thing.
I got about 800 bobsled books in my garage here. Yeah, we still haven't sold. But one day. But yeah, it's now people want me to do this book, and it's hard to write a book. It's hard to remember your life story, and you have to ask my brothers. They know more about my early career than I do because they were watching me. Well, they were watching me. I was doing it, so I was just focused on doing it. But they were watching everything going on around it. So got a lot of stories from them. But we'll have it done one day. Maybe.
Man.
No hurry.
Yeah. Good luck, Jeff. Good to see you again, my friend.
Same here, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bodine.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
You got it. Nice seeing you. Yep. See you.
Okay.
Well then.
I can't believe it hasn't already gone viral on Twitter. You
Oh,
guys have let me down.
I saw Chris Perry over there doing this. So.
Well, listen, guys. Again, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for being here. You guys mean a lot to me, and I look forward to talking to you every week. So,
I
thank y'all
apologize
so
for
much.
my quick question taking that much time.
How many
steps?
How many steps, Steve? Or Rick? How many steps?
How many steps?
Yeah,
How many miles?
How many miles? Okay. I knew somebody would ask that. As of this morning, I have gone 4,689.64 miles, which leaves me 310.36 miles short. Monday, I will go under 300 miles.
All right.
So,
Nice.
and
And
to be
next
honest
week
with
we are
you-
going to have a graphic. We're going to make it make a weekly update with the week mileage and the total mileage.
Yeah. So, earlier this week, I passed the halfway point. I started off this year needing 632 miles, and earlier this week I passed 316 miles for the year. So, yeah. That's listen. Every time I get tired, I think about this stuff back here because it's going to be worth it. I promise you guys, it's going to be worth it. I researched the interview that we did, that Steve and I did this morning, and to research that interview, I had to pull off box after box after box of papers and rifle through them, and you do that, and it you bend up pages and you rip pages, and it's just not good for the papers. But once they're digitized, I can just click a couple of buttons and boom, there you go. So
it's just us few. Let us know who it was.
Do what?
I said it's just us few in here. Let us know who it was.
All right, no
We won't
problem,
tell
man.
anybody.
Ricky Craven.
Oh, cool.
So nice.
Yeah, Ricky Craven. And listen, I am so proud of the work that we have done on the podcast. And I go into interviews and I don't know what to expect, but not once have I ever felt like we've put an interview on the podcast that is subpar, that people won't like. But this one with Ricky, I think it is a cut above. Just as a quick preview, he talked about his Talladega accident, and he said that when he rolled up the track, it got real quiet, and he said, "Well, that's good. It's over." Well, he was still in the air, and he said that he got knocked out, and even telling the story, I'm getting chills. But he said that he actually woke himself up vomiting.
Oh.
And said that Steve Peterson, the NASCAR official, was on the hood of the car, kind of talking him through the process of getting him cut out. And he said that he said that the first thing that he remembered saying to Steve was that he couldn't breathe. And he said that Steve told him to, take small breaths to kind of get his lungs filled back up. And then he talked about how he told Steve that something had come through the seat and had jabbed him in the back, had punctured his back. And they got him out of the car and found out that nothing had come through the seat. And that was actually his fractured vertebra.
Oh, my.
And so him telling that story from his own his perspective was absolutely. I mean, it's just I don't know. It was one of those special moments in an interview where you're onto something and you've got something really good. So, and that was just one story, and we talked for almost an hour and a half.
Wow.
So it's going to be some good stuff.
This ought to be good.
Bill Gardner was very good too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, and I mentioned it on the podcast, talk to Steve about, whether or not Bill Gardner will one day get into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. If you had asked me before we talked to him, I would have said, no way, no how, not going to happen. All I knew was his reputation, and his reputation was, I thought, very confrontational. He had, there were so many of his drivers and so many issues with so many different people. But to hear it from his perspective, I think he belongs on the ballot.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll never make it.
I think he belongs on the ballot, and let people make their own decisions. And you say he'll never make it. I think even him being on the ballot would tick some people off.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
would.
There are some people in that garage who are pretty good about holding a grudge. and so, you know, I don't know, but could I see him on the ballot? Yes, sir. I absolutely could. So
that was a real eye opener, and it was just really good to hear a lot of the details that we would have never known. I mean, it was really cool to hear from him.
Well, I had nothing to go on. I had no frame of reference for him. So when we started talking to him, I didn't know what to expect out of his personality. I didn't know if he would be confrontational. I didn't know. I thought that he would be very demonstrative, showy, loud, and he was anything but that. Y'all heard it.
Yeah. But that's the way he used to be.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It almost seemed like they was just happy to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about the podcast is I don't want to talk to anybody who does not want to talk. In the entire run of this podcast, I have gone through one PR person. I take that back. 2 PR people. One for Ray Evernham and, of course, one for Junior. Dale Jr. And actually, I actually went through Dale Jr. to get that interview, or if I had to rely on a PR person for the Dale Jr. interview, I'd still be waiting on it.
Right.
Well, that's just the fact of the matter. If it hadn't been for Brian Kelbs sending me that Jimmy Means T-shirt, I wouldn't have got that interview. So, Peter, I got a story to tell. Should I tell it?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to name names. I don't think it's anybody that you guys would know, but I showed up with the equipment for the podcast at Junior Motorsports, and the person who was assigned to kind of show me around and get me set up in the interview, he could not possibly have acted any less interested in me being there. I just got the vibe that he felt like it was beneath him. Okay. And at one point we went into the studio and we actually recorded in the studio that they do the Dale Jr. download.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point this guy asked, and it was not Mike Davis. Mike and I get along pretty good, but this guy, he actually asked me, he said, "Are you planning to use our equipment to record this podcast, or are you going to use your own shit?"
Wow.
And it was at that moment that I decided to kick his ass on content.
I think I know who it is.
You know, look, we will never, ever get Dale Jr. download numbers. But when it comes to content, I truly and very deeply believe that we hold our own.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I see the download as competition, not necessarily a rivalry, because, you know, again, we're not going to reach those numbers. But when it comes to content, we're neck and neck.
I think the Bill Gardner interview separates you from Dale Jr. because I don't think they would have reached out to him.
Well, and this is not necessarily a criticism. It's not a criticism. It's just an observation. When they do a history-based interview, when Junior does a history-based interview, everyone is going to either center around, or it's either going to focus on or get around to at some point that person's relationship with Dale Sr.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's nothing, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, it's Dale Jr.'s podcast, so certainly there's that connection there. But the interviews that we do are far more open, and wide ranging. We don't focus in on any one person. So, you know, but I said that about the PR guy. As far as Dale Jr. goes, I'd take a bullet for him. He is a good guy.
Yeah.
He is a truly, truly good guy. So, he's got a lot of people around him. And if I was in Dale Jr.'s shoes, I would want a lot of people around me too, with as many people who want a piece of him, a piece of his time. So anyway,
he seems like a good dude, just as an observation, and that's huge.
Well, I can say this: I don't know that I've told the story on the podcast. I think I might have, but anyway, my wife had a miscarriage in November '98. And I didn't get to go to Homestead because of it. The last race of the year, that was the weekend that he clinched his first championship. And Dale Jr. called us from the racetrack to say that he was sorry.
Wow.
And left a message on the answer machine. And he said, listen, I heard what happened. I want you to know I'm sorry. He said, I know that you've been trying to get up with me for an interview. Don't worry about that. You do what you got to do with Jeannie and the doctors, and I will meet you anywhere, anytime, when it's convenient for you. And I can't tell you what that meant. And my wife heard that message, and she said, I'm going to that interview. And so me and Junior and Jeannie sat down at a restaurant there in Mooresville, and it was just three of us, and we talked for maybe 30, 45 minutes on the record. And when I got done, I figured he would just, take off. He sat there for another hour.
Really?
Just shooting the bull like we're doing now. And the only person who came up to him during the whole thing, I'll never forget it, it was Donnie Wingo from Bud Moore. You guys would probably know him from Bud Moore Engineering. And he asked Junior for his autograph to give to his kid.
Wow.
But other than that, nobody else knew who he was, or nobody else bothered him. So that was pretty cool. That was my memory of Junior. That's the reason why I said I would take a bullet for him. But the PR guy asking me if I was going to use my own shit to record stuff.
Have you ever had a guest say that they wouldn't, or they don't have time to sit down with you guys?
The only person who has flat out refused, and it's crazy to say it, the only person who's flat out refused has been Harry Gant.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
And
any reason why?
It's not because, obviously, it's not because he's a jerk or anything like that. I honestly believe it's because he actually told the person who I was talking to, he actually told the person that nobody remembers him, so what's the use of talking about it?
Oh,
what? Come
on.
Yeah.
He's Mr. September.
And to be honest with you, that's not Harry's personality. He never raced to be in the spotlight. He just raced to be a racer.
Mm-hmm.
And the attention that came with it, he could have took it or left it. And I would love to sit down with him.
Yes.
He sat down with Junior on his podcast.
Yeah, well, Junior has a little bit more pull than I do.
I'm not gonna. That's neither here nor there. But he actually said at the top of the podcast that no one remembers who he is anyway.
Yeah. So, and that's, I hate that because actually Harry was one of my favorite drivers before I got into the sport. Harry Gant was actually the sidebar for the first race that I ever covered, that I ever worked on staff for Scene. My first race with Scene was his last Cup race, his retirement race in Atlanta. And that was my assignment that weekend, was to kind of trail him around. And so I got to meet Burt Reynolds, and I got to watch people kind of trailing around behind Burt Reynolds, kind of patting his hair down and that kind of thing. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. But working that race and trailing one of my favorite drivers around, that was obviously a high moment for me. But yeah, he does not want to be on the podcast. So if you have any pull with him, absolutely knock yourself out.
Refusal?
Yeah. So
I'm just wondering if you could hit him back now that he's done the junior one.
Listen, I'm not. There are so many other people that we can interview. I would love to talk to him, but it's not anything that I'm going to push. Because again, I don't want anybody to feel pressured to be on the podcast, because if they feel pressured, they're not going to give good answers. They're not going to be open.
Right.
And so, we'll just see what happens.
I think Geoff Bodine enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He's got a book to sell. I don't know if you mentioned that.
He's writing a book.
I don't know. Do y'all remember? Did he mention anything about book?
He hadn't been in touch with me about pictures, so there must not be a book.
Yeah.
I wonder if this podcast is going to be in the book.
We have to sign a release for his book?
Maybe.
He was very a lot of good stories, though. It was cool.
Yeah, it was nice listening to him.
All right. Well, listen, guys, thank y'all for being here tonight. I really appreciate y'all, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Rick.
Good. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right.
Forward to this every week. So it's a great way to unwind on a Thursday night.
All right, man.
Good
See you,
night.
Chris. Bye.
Take care, gentlemen.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Good night.